right.
What is up, Rally Towel fam? Welcome to this. I wanted to do that. I just wanted to start it off on a high note. No pun intended. What is up, fam? Welcome to Line to Game. With me, as always, Mr. Corey James and Aaron, the man, mailing.
The
Welcome.
mailman.
The mailman.
He always
Aaron,
delivers.
There you go. Always.
How we doing tonight, gentlemen?
Fantastic. Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Si, senor. Cheers.
Cheers.
As we celebrate.
Cultural appropriation. Yeah.
Absolutely. Mr. Burton, thanks for liking the video and joining in. Welcome. Welcome to the show. I don't think I've really had an opportunity to catch up with you guys since last week. So what's new in your worlds?
Well, we had the draft, and it was probably one of the more exciting first rounds, not just due to the fact of how fucked up Todd got on our last broadcast. That was fucking awesome.
Fantastic.
That was amazing.
That was
It was
special.
Litty titty. Litty titty. But no, that was awesome, and I had a blast, man. I thought that was such a fun first round. Aaron, obviously, with the Browns not having a pick,
I was kind of just here's the thing: it's still must-watch television, and I'm you still have NBA playoff games going on, and it's like my team didn't even have a pick, and I'm like, yeah, I'm still pretty tuned into the draft.
Yeah,
Day 3.
Brian, thanks for liking the video.
I did too. I tuned into day 3. Put the kids down, just kind of dozed off a little bit. I was like, all right, wake me up.
Day 3 has that same energy of like, just like a Saturday of a golf tournament, not the Masters, but
like not a major.
Yeah, not a huge major, but you're just like, let's throw that on, have some nice background noise, open the house up, hear the birds chirping outside. Loved it.
Yeah,
wow, you guys
perfect.
Really set the mood.
Yeah, you're welcome. Brian, thanks for liking the stream.
Jeff said, love you boys more than the Reds love to suck. Yeah, no shit.
The Reds do love to suck. Holy shirts and pants. That is, I've come to the Reds had to die for the Bengals to thrive. That's just, the sacrifice was made. They are the lamb on the altar. Their throats have been cut, and we're watching them bleed out now. That's what's happening.
Oh, that's a shame.
It is what it is.
The case.
I don't make the rules. It's in the Old Testament. That's not me.
Oh, well,
blame Abraham.
There's literature on this.
Yeah, blame Abraham, not
and
me.
And the Lord said, let the Reds suck.
Yep, he did. And he saw that it was good.
Sounds about right. Holy shit.
Oh, my God.
All right. Well, Aaron, it's been a week. We've had some time to reflect. What is your personal grade for the Cleveland Browns in this draft?
I'll give them like a B-. They didn't. I mean, for what they had, like, it's pretty easy to be like, hey, the Jets got an A+. It's like, well, I'd love to have 2 picks in the top 10. That'd be pretty dope. It's pretty easy to grade like that. I think they filled. They traded back, which I don't think a lot of people liked. But they also picked up a shitload of draft capital to do it. Like all the nerds are saying all the value you got out of trading back and picking up the picks that you did. And it was ironically enough with the Texans. And so I read this thing where, they essentially now have traded Deshaun. If you combine those 2 trades for 3 firsts and a second, you picked up extra that you actually had already given back. The Cade York drafting a kicker in the 4th round thing will be interesting. If that hits, fantastic. If it doesn't, it looks really, really bad. Corey, I think you guys took McPherson in the 5th last year.
Yeah, that's accurate.
If the Browns somehow get that production out of York, or let's just say you got the same production out of McPherson and it cost you a 4th round pick, you'd say, yes, worth it. Great.
Yep, 100%. I mean, he's one of the most accurate kickers in the league last year. One of the most clutch kickers. He almost broke Adam Vinatieri's postseason points record in his rookie season.
Yeah. And the balls on that guy. The balls.
Yeah, straight.
The sheer just hubris that man.
He was on the injury report with lower back pain just from dragging his fucking nuts around the locker room all the time. It was fucking crazy. he was on like the Pat McAfee show, and
oh, that's great.
McAfee had a ball with Vinatieri's records on it. And he's like, "What's that one on there?" And it's like postseason points or field goals or something like that. It's like 14. He's like, "Yeah, I want that one." And McAfee looks at him and he goes, "All right, man. Adam Vinatieri played for a long fucking time. Why don't you cool out a little bit? All right,
Right.
Just take it easy, man."
Yeah, let's chill out for a second.
But back to your point, Aaron. I think absolutely. It's one of those things. It's like we talked about not taking a corner or a tight end in the top 5, right? Or at least in the top, premium picks like Derek Stingley, Sauce Gardner. They have to be Jalen Ramsey now.
No, I still think corner's a premium position to me.
Okay, so when the Lions,
if it was a safety, I would agree with you.
So when the Lions took Jeff Okudah at 3, widely considered an overvalued pick, they picked him too high, is what a lot of the conversation was around Jeffrey Okudah at 3. He was the best corner in the draft at that time. It hasn't panned out that way, obviously, but when they took him at 3, there was concern.
Yeah, I mean, I would tell you, I think DN or left tackle or something is probably going to be more, or quarterback, right?
Those are the 3.
Right, yeah. Exactly. I still think corner, wide receiver, because like Jamar Chase, you could have said was an overreach until you saw the production that it gave you. Because if you take a wide receiver that early, they have to be really, really good.
Yeah.
But I still think, between corners and the way that you're seeing wide receivers get paid, if you're going to pay wide receivers that much, to which states to their value, the guys that can lock them down are going to get equally paid. I
agree, and that's not. I'm not saying that they're not valuable on the field. What I am saying though is that they have to have immediate production. Yeah. And when you are a corner, you're under the spotlight consistently. Like that is just right. Especially in this NFL where they're passing 60% plus in terms of offensive, play schemes. These guys, you have to perform. You have to make an immediate impact. Otherwise, the team reach. So versus like it's easier to be hidden in the trenches. You know what I mean? As long as you're not getting bulldozed over or committing blatant on the offensive side, committing blatant holding calls or false starts or, letting guys run right through to the quarterback. It's easier to hide the mistakes. When you're a wide receiver, when you're a corner, a safety, one of those guys, there ain't no hiding out there. Not on the hash marks. No way. Not going to happen.
No, absolutely. So. But other than that, I still think the Browns had a couple other good picks for being later in the round. I love the David Bell pickup from Purdue. He did not impress anybody at the combine, but it's a guy who had 230 plus receptions last year. I'm pretty sure he led college football in receptions. He basically grades out athletically the exact same that Jarvis Landry did coming into the league. Like he doesn't blow anyone away, but he's a tight route runner that has sure hands. It's like a 4%, drop percentage, which is phenomenal. And that's really, what you want out of a 3rd round receiver. And then the guy from Oklahoma, Winfrey, just an absolute dog out there.
Perrion Winfrey.
Yeah, Perrion Winfrey, just an absolute dog to get in the 4th round. I'll give him a B minus.
A lot of people wanted the Bengals to take Perrion Winfrey in the 3rd round. Opted for Zach Carter out of University of Florida. So those guys will be kind of tagged together for the rest of their career, at least from addicted Bengals fans that know that Perrion Winfrey was also on the board 2 years later, right? Those people that have that insane knowledge. It'll be interesting to see how those two go as their careers develop. And is Perrion kind of the same kind of guy where he can run a nickel 5 technique, 3 technique, or
he's kind of a pass rushing defensive tackle, and kind of similar in the
same
way
as Zach Carter.
I was going to say, I don't know, I didn't watch obviously every single Bengals game last year, but I had the privilege of watching Ogunjobi for 4 years, where he was he was a guy who really got up the field in that nose tackle position or defensive tackle position. Might not be the world's best run stopper, but the athleticism is there. And then, as always, anybody that you put on the defensive line next to Myles Garrett, that you're going to get single teamed.
Yeah, it'll be It'll be interesting, and obviously, and Jadavion's not back, right? Where did Jadavion end up going?
He's still technically in the free agency pool right
Okay.
now. There's a lot of reports that seem
Landry
promising.
is too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think when all is said and done, I think one of the two of those guys will be back. I think Browns fans would probably rather have Clowney from a football perspective, but from a locker room, we love this guy. You know, Jarvis really was, as much as everyone wants to say Baker came in and turned this around, it really was Jarvis Landry who came in and just kind of said, you know, this shit's over here.
And that's interesting, but just based on the dynamic that took place in Miami towards the end of his tenure there is kind of the opposite, right? At least that was the reports coming out of Miami, is like Jarvis was kind of the stick in the mud that wanted out of there for obvious reasons. Like, who the fuck wants to go play for Miami unless? Oh wait, Tyreek Hill does. But
for sure, Adam Gase was there too at the time. Like,
yeah,
you know.
right. So yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah, I think overall, no one really pays attention to every single team in terms of what they drafted. So I did know they got Perion Winfrey, obviously, but
I think Cade York was probably the only one that stood out because they took a kicker so early.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I get it. I'm not dialed in on every single pick.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think the Bengals taking McPherson last year had anything to do with the influence of people drafting kickers and seeing how important that position actually is?
I think having McPherson and Tucker in your division is part of the reason you do that.
Yeah, you got two teams that consistently can nail them from 55, and that just changed. All you have to do is get to the 40. You don't have to get in the red zone.
Yeah,
you get to the 40, and you're looking at points.
Lord, I've seen what you've done for others.
Jeff came in with a comment and said, was it just me or did the first round draft picks not look as excited as in years past? I don't know if it's the NIL money or the 4-mile walk from the green room to the stage. That was a long ass walk.
Great, yeah.
You saw a lot of them jogging or slightly yogging to the stage.
It's a soft J. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I didn't really see a lot of the tier videos, but nonetheless, I was still glued to Twitter watching every video I could, no matter the team, of that moment where the guy gets the call. I smile the whole time. I just think it's such a cool experience to be able to get a glimpse into that. You're literally watching not only one person, but an entire family's life change in an instant. And a lot of these guys knew it was going to happen, but it's real in that moment.
It's still surreal. Yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, man. I just think it's just one of the coolest things to be able to listen to that. And since they've started releasing those videos, it's just something it's my favorite part of the draft.
TikTok.
It's my favorite part
on TikTok. And just the guys getting the call and they're like, stop messing with me, coach. Stop messing with me. Send me the playbook now. I'm ready. I'm ready to work. Like,
speaking of that, Perion Winfrey was one of the best ones, to be honest with you. I mean, you know, I don't wish the Browns to win a single game just because they're in our division, but I mean, that was one of the cooler calls. It's like, gonna be next to Myles Garrett. Let's go. Let's go. You will get everything out of me every day. Like, if you're a Browns fan watching that, you're just like, I am brick hard. Like, you're just so jacked up.
Yeah, the Browns are pretty easy to impress the fans when you get drafted. Just start barking into TikTok, and people are like, "That's my guy!"
Absolutely,
pretty easy. That's all you got to do. You don't have to know shit. You're like, "Oh, dogs, we dogs," and you're like, "All right, let's go."
Mr. Spence says you look like Jesus, Corey. I know that my stepdad says you look like Triple H.
Fuck yeah, dude. Let's go.
I can see that.
Let's go.
Josh came in the comment and said, what do you think about the Clowns in Arizona? I really believe they are overrated. Well, we've talked about the Cardinals in depth on this channel.
What are they? What are they? What's their title? Fraudulent enemy number one. Fraudulent enemy number one. It's not even a question.
Bet on the bird after the bird has been cut, a.k.a. Thanksgiving. Corey said that last year. They could have not been more true.
Here's the thing about, I just want to rant time. Who the fuck does Kyler Murray think he is? Honestly, who does he think he is? That's what I really want to know.
Who do you think you are? I am.
I
I am. Yeah, but listen, Kyler Murray is regular. He is week 1 through 10 MVP for the last 2 years. No doubt about that. He's very exciting. What has he done?
He's
What has he
amazing
done?
he's like the Reds at the All-Star break. If like a human could embody the Reds at the before and after the All-Star break, it's Kyler fucking Murray.
Yeah, he's also a guy who's been drafted in the first round in 2 professional sports. Like that probably
Sure.
goes to your head a little bit.
A little bit hard to be humble when you're stunting on a jumbotron.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Like I think he was
It's the
picked,
LeBron
like,
Iran.
wasn't he like the 5th overall pick for the Athletics or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
He went top 5 in 2 professional leagues before when he was in his 20s. Like that's imagine that happened to you, Corey. I bet you wouldn't be like, I eating a lot of humble pie.
Probably not. I already don't. So yeah, I can see that.
That's what I'm saying. Give you that.
Give me,
Dale,
yeah,
thanks
give
for
me.
liking the video, big dog. So okay, let's pose this question. I think we've talked about it before. You're Kyler Murray. You get drafted in the first round of the NFL. You get drafted in the first round of the NFL. Where are you going and why?
You mean MLB and NFL?
Did I say NFL and NFL?
You did, but it's okay. We got you. Teamwork.
It's the Margs.
It's the Margs.
There's about this much alcohol and not a lot
Ay,
of
caramba.
I'm just
Relative
telling you
when it was full.
I'm just telling you what's going on.
I mean NFL every time. It's not even close. I mean, listen, the guaranteed money between being a first round draft pick in the NFL versus a first round draft pick in the MLB are just night and day. Is the ceiling higher in the major leagues? Absolutely. Is the easier route through endorsements, guaranteed money, exposure, etc., etc. It's all of those things are way more of a sure thing in the NFL. And the MLB just does such a piss poor job of marketing its fans. We are living in the era of one of the greatest baseball players of all time.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them actually,
and they happen to be on the same team.
Mike Trout and Ohtani, and no one knows who the fuck these guys are. They have no idea. Like they are just. I mean, outside of like baseball community in the United States and obviously overseas, Ohtani is a god and rightfully so, right? But Mike Trout, we're coming up on the twilight of his career and nowhere near the exposure that should be happening. Nowhere.
Yeah. That dude's a once in a lifetime talent.
He is.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the most pure 5-tool players that I think baseball's ever seen. When he's healthy, there's nothing he can't do. He hits the 500-foot bombs. He hits the balls in the gap. He steals bases. He plays the field. He's got a great arm. And his IQ is unreal, and I feel humble in the fact that I can say that I've watched this man play live. And that's like, I don't know. It's really neat. Like I got to see Roger Clemens pitch. Like I hold that in the same breath,
Sure.
like
Hall of Famer,
yeah.
They're both should be.
Sure.
One of them will be. The other one should be.
One of them will be. The other one should be. Josh, when Mark Martin retired, my stepdad he's still a NASCAR fan, but not as much. He was a big Mark Martin fan. To answer your NASCAR question, and they do still live in the township. Yeah, same spot. That's where they're at. So they're in Florida right now, but they'll be back soon. So.
Nice. In terms of the draft, just to kind of bring it back, I think I've seen a lot of national media giving the Bengals pretty high grades. And I would kind of go with like a B plus. I would have liked to see them address tight end. I would have liked to see them address wide receiver. Obviously, wide receiver has been addressed in undrafted free agent signings immediately following the draft. Guys that are going to get a chance to come to camp and compete and stuff like that, which is cool. A lot of fun. Listen, there are more undrafted free agents in the Hall of Fame than there are first, second, third, and fourth overall picks. So just take that with a grain of salt. Just because you weren't drafted, just because the guy is not drafted and he's on the squad doesn't mean he can't have an immediate impact on your team or somewhere else. So I think that'll be something to watch for. It's always exciting to see those stories kind of come to fruition for some of these guys. But I'm writing a blog about this right now. It'll be on rallytowsports.com here in the next couple of days. But one of the things that I really took away from this draft, the first couple of seasons as a Bengals fan was Zach Taylor. Obviously Marvin Lewis is gone. We get Zach Taylor in here, and it was rough, right? We saw them secure the number 1 overall pick, which is an honor that you need at times, but not one that's fun to get to. Aaron, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I did
And
back years. Let's go.
Right. And not only that, but the following year, you watch that asset that you've secured as the number 1 overall pick. You've watched that need get ripped to shreds right in front of you.
Yeah, but since we went back to back, I've got to see Miles, so we get nice both sides of the cookie.
Cool. I was talking about Joe Burrow.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you never mind.
No, but I watched Joe
Cleveland, Aaron.
So you get the number 1 overall pick, then the next year that number 1 overall pick, his knee gets ripped to shreds on live TV. Rob, thanks for liking the stream, man. So after 2 years of Zach Taylor, the seat was hot, man. Like it was. Everybody knew what Joe Burrow was when he was coming out. He proved it before he got hurt as well. And so my meter was at 7 wins. If you don't get 7 wins, you're gone, because the window is now, right? The Super Bowl window. Everybody talks about that. What is the Super Bowl window? Well, it's when you have a franchise quarterback on a rookie contract, gives you the ability to go out and bring in the talent around it to be successful, to go win a Super Bowl, right? So then they make it to the Super Bowl. The Bengals make it to the Super Bowl. And the whole time going through these hard years, Zach Taylor's talking about, we're going to be looking back on these days, and it's going to seem like a different lifetime. Not too long from now, Bengals fans are going to have something to be proud of. We're going to build this the right way, is something that he said a lot in those early press conferences. And yeah, sure, you see it come to fruition in the Super Bowl. You really see it come to fruition in this draft. Why? There are no gaping holes on this team. There's no like, holy shit, we have to address this now in the first round. There's nothing like that. Yes, you could use some depth at the linebacker position. Yes, you could use a more prolific tight end. Ladies and gentlemen, I've just listed the 2 least important positions on a football field other than special teams, linebackers and tight ends. Other than that, you've got your secondary, vastly important, as we've alluded to earlier. Offensive and defensive line, majorly important. Running game, wide receivers, quarterback, all of these things are very, very important. Right. If your biggest needs are depth at linebacker and depth at tight end, or future promising star at tight end,
Paul,
I'm okay.
I'm in a second, brother.
Paul, don't worry, buddy. I'm on a rant. Come on, Hubie. So this is what I'm starting to see, building it the right way. When you are drafting for depth, you're able to go after the best available talent and adding depth to your roster. Not only is that just proving that you've built it the right way, you're increasing the Super Bowl window. You're making that window larger, because what you have is guys to backfill that depth or that roster as you get to the end of those contracts. Stars are expensive, ladies and gentlemen. They're expensive.
Corey, how much do you think of that is good drafting, or having a guy like Joe Burrow where it's a little bit more of a destination, so you're able to fill more holes in free agency than you have before?
The thing about that is we haven't made I'm not on the fucking team. The Bengals haven't made a lot of big splash signings. Like Trey Hendrickson was a good signing, but everyone, when we signed Trey Hendrickson, was like, oh, they overpaid. They should have just allocated that money to Carl Lawson rather than spending on Trey Hendrickson, which who knows what would have happened either way. But La'el Collins was probably the biggest signing of this offseason next to Alex Kappa, I would say, guard from Tampa. Those are the 2 bigger signings. But it wasn't Teron Armstead, left tackle from the Saints. There haven't been these big splash signings. So I think there's still that kind of value-driven approach to this front office, but I definitely think it makes it easier when you get to the Bengals contracts, when you have a guy like Joe Burrow or you have a guy like Justin Herbert or Patrick Mahomes or yada, 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 right? You have these, guys that, other players believe in, because everybody knows the most important position is quarterback, and they're going to go to a place where they feel they have a quarterback that can take them to that. So the Zach Taylor way is in full effect. You saw it in this draft, and all they're doing at this point is adding freak athletes. And I'll go ahead and say it right now. My favorite pick of this draft is not our first round pick, Dax Hill. I love Dax Hill. It's a great pick after getting more into it. My favorite pick is round 2, baby. Ooh, Cam Taylor-Britt, man. This dude is a fucking dog. Corner out of Nebraska. Probably one of the more athletic players in the entire draft. And you are going to be seeing some CTB out there on the field next year. And I'm here for it. I cannot wait.
Yeah.
Cannot wait.
Absolutely. Paul coming in with some comments here.
Let's go.
Your thoughts on the record of Ryan Tannehill over the last 3 years. So let's preface this with some comments that came out this week about Ryan Tannehill, or at least he was quoted saying, essentially, Malik and I are competing for the same job. It's not my responsibility to coach him, but if he learns something from me, that's great. So that's kind of where this question begins. Aaron, kind of let me know your thoughts on this and what's your take?
Yeah, I mean, my problem with the comment is Ryan Tannehill is now starting the back 9 of his career. He already got the big money deal that he's overqualified to even be having right now. So to me, that's just like the difference between going that route and maybe like the Alex Smith route. If Tannehill was sitting in a position like Lamar Jackson is right now, and the Ravens drafted Willis, I 100% understand why someone like Lamar Jackson would make comments like that. But like, bro, you're making $29 million a year and you've never earned it. Like you've been overpaid since the day you signed your name on that dotted line. Like, yeah, obviously I understand what they're doing. And also if you make the exact opposite comment of what you made, you're now look like there's 10 more years on your career right there. I want to bring in that guy to be the next quarterback whisperer, quarterback number 2. That is the greatest job in the world, the backup quarterback on a football team.
I would hold the fuck out of that clipboard, dude.
Oh my God.
Hold it so good.
But yeah, I think the comments are kind of BS. I don't mind how Tannehill has played over the last couple of years. He's been adequate, good enough to win. They way overpaid him, and I think they regret that now. And maybe even the Henry contract, when you see a guy like, you have to get rid of Brown on draft day because you just don't have any more money to go around. And I don't know that the 18th, 20th best quarterback in the league, and Henry, you can say, is the best running back in the league if you want to, but still just such a depreciating position, and that's where a lot of your cap space is tied up.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Tannehill, like you said, is in no position to be saying that. If anything, he should be grateful for the money that he got, and he needs to be more of a team player. He just looks like a fucking asshole.
No, he's not losing. But listen, here's the thing. I get what you guys are saying, and to a point, I agree. Like, he didn't have to say that, but at the same time, what he said is not inaccurate. It is not his responsibility. His responsibility is to make sure the Titans are in a position to win. That's his responsibility. It's not to coach Malik Willis. That's not his job. That's Mike Vrabel's job. I agree with that. That being said, the fact that he said that shows me he is a dead man walking. He knows he's done. He knows it. Not only that, but his comments that he made earlier, they were asking him, and this, I want to preface, this is not a knock on, anybody that engages in therapy or anything like that, but talking about how he lost sleep over the Bengals game for multiple weeks, and it really took, I was in a dark place, and just the way he was talking about that, I would winning quarter. I would never hear a winning quarterback talk about that. I just wouldn't. It's a mental state different. It's a different thing. It's just a different level of player, and that's not a knock on him for who he is or the way he feels or anything like that. But I closed my eyes and I listened to that press conference, and you know who I heard? Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton. That's who I heard when I hear Ryan Tannehill talk. It's Andy Dalton. It's the same person. He's a nice guy. He's out. He got paid. He's playing quarterback. He'll win some football games for you. You got the pieces around him. You got a solid defense. He'll win some football games. It's not going to win you a Super Bowl.
But
He won't.
what Paul makes a great point here, basically saying like, well, what if Tannehill came out and said, you know,
What's up, Cody?
I'm gonna show Malik how to be a starting quarterback in this league. I'm gonna be a model for him. I'm gonna be the example for him. And he can watch me as I fucking dominate this year. How much better would that have sounded as opposed to him saying, well,
yeah, he's not that guy.
Shit.
Yeah,
he's not that
he's
guy.
not that guy. But he also, I mean, like
Not that guy, Chief.
Yeah, you're not that guy. I mean, the easiest comment to make though is just, you know, something to the tune of, you know, he's going to be my backup. You know, I'll gladly be a sounding board for him, but at the same time, I'm a professional and I'm a competitor, so I'm not going to do anything to lose my job. But you know, obviously, I view myself as a mentor.
Yeah,
like you can say that. Like there's an easy way to dance around that, and then it's not a thing anymore.
Right. Yeah. I think he handled it completely inaccurately, but it is what it is. Cody, cheers. What's up, brother?
I think it's
for those
clear
of you
he's
in
still.
here. If you haven't liked the video, make sure you smash that like, share it with a friend. Get some people in here. We're partying tonight. Corey.
I was just gonna say, I think it's. I just think it's clear that Tannehill knows that he's done. First of all, I think the Titans got a great value at Malik Willis in the third round. I think it's a great value pick
for him.
No, he kind of fell into their lap, and I think it's great. But I think that it's pretty clear that he is still kind of fucked up and questioning his ability at this point. That's self-consciousness rearing its head and through words, in my opinion. If he was confident in himself and confident in his ability to be the starting quarterback, those comments come off a completely different way. He talks about it in a completely different light. It's like, yeah, the better he is, the better we are as a team. I have no problem making sure that my backup is ready to go should something happen to me. Like, that's all you have to say, dude. That's it. That's all you have to say.
Right.
But I also get the backlash of like, it's not his fucking job, because it's not. I totally get that. But as the quarterback, you're the face of the franchise. You have a responsibility to be a mouthpiece.
I would argue that it is somewhat his responsibility.
How is it Joe Burrow's responsibility to make sure that Brandon Allen is good?
I think they're at different points of their career.
Well, to the same effect, right? It's all about the team, right? And it's all about making sure that, you know, Joe Burrow had his knee blown out and he wasn't able to take over and the Bengals fell apart.
That's okay.
That's his rookie year. I'm not saying it's in any way, shape, or form the same, but I'm just saying there is a responsibility of the people who have the action to make sure that you can do everything that you can and your ability to make sure that you are still successful as a team. You know, if you're not able to go.
Sure. I think that falls on offensive coordinator and head coach, quarterback's coach. That's where that responsibility falls.
But there's
starting quarterback.
There's a difference between the coach and the offensive coordinator and the guy who's on the field and seeing the action live.
Sure. And this backup can watch tape just as well as anybody else.
Yeah.
My point is, if my starting quarterback is worried about anything other than getting better and learning defenses and how to pick them apart, analyze them faster, he's not my starting quarterback. He doesn't want to be my starter.
Okay, so then you agree with Ryan Tannehill?
Well, I think if Tannehill goes
to an extent, yeah.
If Tannehill goes down in week 4 and they
I'm just playing devil's advocate here,
and he's not holding up the Microsoft Surface, and he doesn't want to help him, I think that looks way different.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I think
sit over like this.
He's just like, well, good, fuck him. Like, I think there's the
I'm
other
going
thing
home.
Yeah, just pulls just a Cartman and he just takes the ball, goes home. But I think there's something about the fact that the Titans, they didn't trade up to get him. They didn't, he kind of fell into their lap. It wasn't like they were like, hey, Tannehill isn't our guy. Like, Tannehill can be that starting quarterback for the next 2 years, still find a home somewhere else and keep playing football. And if not, goddamn, did he make a shitload of money playing, above average football. Yeah. I mean, you can make the correlation to what happened to Rodgers last year, where they took a quarterback in the first round. He still went out and won an MVP. For Tannehill, if he wants to get paid like a top quarterback, you either embrace the role of the actual player that you are, or you go out there and you just ball out. And I, like you were saying, Corey, it's just not in his personality to be the latter there. So, you kind of have to embrace it. For somebody like Rodgers, when that happened to him, it was just fuel to the fire. I just don't think Tannehill has that, internal furnace, if you will.
Yeah, a lot of comments rolling in. Keep them coming, chat. Dale said Tannehill is soft. Paul said Tannehill is 31-14 with a Titans 69% win record. I'd be really interested to see how much of an impact he had in each one of those wins.
In one of the worst divisions in the AFC.
I would say a majority of those wins were carried by the running game and the defense. I think Tannehill's a game manager. He's going to hold on to the ball well.
That.
He's a little bit more than that. Yeah.
He's a little bit more.
A little bit, but not a lot.
But that win percentage is exactly what Mitch Trubisky has, by the way.
Correct.
I think Ryan Tannehill now is basically what people thought Carson Wentz was going to be, or like at the best that he was. You know what I mean? Where he's maybe athletic, not what they move around the pocket. He can throw the ball well. He's just.
I'll tell you one thing. The Eagles thought he was going to be a lot better.
Well,
the Eagles thought he was going to be a lot more than that.
But like, just he's an above average athlete. He's an above average thrower. He's good in the play action. He's not terrible out there. I mean, honestly, he's just a little bit more athletic of a Kirk Cousins.
It's a good comp. Yeah,
has he got a better arm than Cousins?
Probably not.
It's about the same, in my opinion.
No, I would say Cousins has a better arm, but either way, I mean, we're comparing, 13 and 14
guys that both won 0 playoff games last year.
Right.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So
but they got yachts.
That they do.
Fair enough.
I kind of looking forward for the Titans. I just think that offense, if like Malik Willis can be Tannehill or better, that offense is just completely different because he's just so much more athletic. He's got such a bigger arm. If they can get some more weapons to continue to stretch the field, like Malik Willis can just fucking rocket that ball down the field, man. And I really thought if they drafted him and kept AJ Brown, that would be that'd be exciting.
Well, we were doing the power rankings a couple weeks ago, and I told you I had the Titans in there at the time, and I was like, this could very easily be the Colts. I would put the Colts right there right now because I think the Titans took a step back. Not only, I mean, listen, there's nothing wrong with taking Malik Willis, but losing AJ Brown, they, like we were saying on our live, draft show, they basically just reset the clock, and that works and it makes sense from a front office perspective, but that made them worse next year. And when you have a guy like Derrick Henry, who you're giving all of that money to, for a running back, he can fall off a cliff at any moment. Mm-hmm. So, I like the Colts now better in that division, and I've said it all along. I don't think more than one team comes out of that division.
Yeah, obviously.
Fair statement.
Not the Texans. I don't think the Jaguars are making that leap just yet.
No.
Yeah, I mean the Colts have made the best moves this offseason, and they continue to be a team that I think has taken that division. So
yeah,
got a long way to go.
Matt Ryan, I totally
long
agree.
way to go, but yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, my Steelers definitely had an interesting draft. They went
burgers.
I do. I owe you guys Whoppers. They went extremely heavy on the offensive side of things, and I wasn't exactly like shocked, but I was just kind of like surprised more than anything.
You did not want Kenny Pickett. Of all the quarterbacks, you did not want Kenny Pickett.
Look, I think he's a good option, but he's not the end all be all. And I didn't think this was the draft to go get a quarterback. I thought we had just made our minds up. We were going to stick with Trubisky for a couple years, wait for somebody better to come along, and then make our move. we made a lot of great strides in the offseason with Daniels and Okafor and Mason Cole on the offensive line. We've got Najee Harris. This draft, we didn't get the best of the best wide receivers, but we got a couple. We got George Pickens. We got Calvin Austin from Memphis. We also drafted Cameron Hayward's brother, who's a tight end.
Saw that you guys have 4 sets of brothers.
4 sets of brothers. I think it's
and
obviously
brothers over
it's
there.
obviously a record. It has to be in the NFL, which is kind of neat. But I don't think the Steelers did enough to win the division. The Bengals, in my mind, are front runners and obviously Super Bowl contenders at this point. They made great strides last year. I think Cleveland's done a decent job. It's all going to depend on whether Deshaun Watson plays. If he plays, they're going to be solid. I think it's going to be between the Steelers and the Ravens for the cellar in the AFC North this year.
I hate to say it, but I think the Ravens had a killer draft.
But here's the thing: they always do.
They draft well.
Yeah, they have, but the last 2 on paper have been a little shaky. They were able to get away from the Hollywood Brown one, but after Ozzie Newsome retired, this GM, I've heard a little bit, and I don't follow the Ravens a ton other than being in the division, but a little bit on shaky ground because they had Ozzie Newsome just dunking on drafts for 20 years.
Right.
And then this guy has like a 2-year kind of like, ooh, this second rounder didn't pan out. This guy sucks kind of like thing going on. And that's the funny thing about the draft is it all looks good on paper until we see these guys on the field.
Right.
And, some guys in the 6th round end up looking like first rounders, and some guys in the first rounds get injured or just don't pan out.
Another thing you just have to remember: the Ravens have to just not get AIDS this year. They had 0 running backs for a long time going into the season. If you had any of their running backs on fantasy, you understand the struggles that you went through. Like J.K. Dobbins, he's coming back next year. But the biggest question with the Ravens, in my opinion, is quarterback. Who's going to be their quarterback? Lamar is clearly blindsided by some of these moves, and we talked about this on draft night. We talked about the Hollywood Brown trade and his tweets. I can't believe Hollywood's gone. And
did you see what Hollywood said though?
Well, apparently, yes. That was apparently it had nothing to do with Lamar. It had everything to do with the general manager, or was it general manager or offensive coordinator? I don't remember.
He said he didn't fit well in that scheme. At least that's what I read.
Well, the trade definitely makes a lot more sense now, seeing the Hopkins suspension, though.
Yeah, that absolutely does make a lot more sense. They kind of felt like they needed to move something to get another vertical threat there.
You can lose the season in 6 games. You know what I mean? Like in that division, it can get away from you really quick. I think on draft night, we were pretty quick to say that was a terrible move. And I'm still not saying it's a home run by any means, but it's certainly more swallowable, kind of taking a look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Speaking of which, Bobby, after you've had some time now to kind of let it marinate.
Sure.
Kenny Pickett, are you good with it? Are you?
Yeah.
Where are you at?
I'm good with it. No, I mean, I think I was more upset because I lost a bet than the fact that it was actually Kenny Pickett.
Been there.
I don't gamble a lot. I'm not a.
Yeah, me either.
I mean in the realm of like gambling, like big money. Like, I'm not saying whoppers are big money, but like it's just more of a pride thing for me. Like I wanted to be right.
Yeah, you want to win.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I'm an extremely competitive person.
Sure.
So that's more the reason I was upset. But no, I'm not upset about the Pickett selection. I think he's the best quarterback in his draft. And that's obviously why the Steelers took him. The Steelers don't waste draft picks, at least in the first round, as history will tell you. Their first round draft selections are usually solid. Usually people that are going to stick around for a minute. So I'm interested to see, how it plays out. I still think Trubisky starts, Pickett's holding a clipboard this year. And Pickett's probably going to take over next year. If Trubisky has a great year, then maybe Trubisky starts next year and Pickett's holding a clipboard for 2 years. But is that a
Yeah.
bad thing? No, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Pickett starts next year. And with Pickett and Najee Harris and a lot of the young talent that they've continued to acquire, they got a lot of defensive acquisitions in this draft as well, and added a lot in the offseason. They're a pretty good, well-rounded team. Now they've got the offensive line sort of figured out. They got 3 positions pretty much set in stone as long as they stay healthy, and it's. The one thing I love about the Steelers is they are always competitive. They are never tanking. It has never been a thing for them.
Yeah.
They are always trying to do whatever they can to win. And whether they have a bad season, they go 8-8, or they have a great season and they go.
Bobby, that is not a bad season, brother.
It's a bad season for the Steelers, right?
I know, but it's interesting with that perspective, and Bobby, as you were saying all that. Corey, I'm reminded of when we were in college watching the draft together, and I want to say it was Giovanni Bernard that got drafted, and there was another running back on the board, and I couldn't tell you for shits who it was.
Monte Ball.
And you were like, why aren't they taking Monte Ball? Why aren't they taking Monte Ball? And I'm like, listen, man, if you trust your front office, they just took the position of need that you requested. They just didn't take your guy, and let's face it, who's watched more film. You understand the holes on the roster, and for the Steelers, it's quarterback. And on draft night, it was interesting because you were like, this is going to be Malik Willis, and I'm not saying that that's who you viewed as the best quarterback, but what we had seen as the draft unfolded was where he was actually valued, right? So we didn't even see a quarterback go in the second round. If Pickett was the top guy on your board at quarterback, and is like you've said, the Steelers have a good history of first-round picks, there's no reason to not be hopeful of the pick. You know what I mean? As we've had time to digest this, and we weren't, 4 drinks in laughing at Kenny Pickett's small hands and the fact that I want a Whopper. You know what I mean? As the dust has settled a little bit from that conversation.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
the last
definitely
time the Steelers took a QB in the first
roster.
round was Ben. So there's a lot of expectation there, right? You're drafting the Steelers drafting a QB in the first round. You're expecting a 2-time Super Bowl champion Hall of Famer to come through the door.
Yeah. My only reason of concern would just be the fact that
his incredibly tiny hands.
No, it really isn't. It's not that. He's going to wear gloves. It's fine. Have you ever worn an NFL glove?
Yes.
Those things
stick them on steroids.
It should be like illegal. I don't understand how they can do that. Anyways, I don't think he's that good.
That's the whole thing is, if the quarterback position, look, there are plenty of teams that need a quarterback. The Steelers aren't the only one, right? There are plenty of teams that have guys currently as their starter that they don't want as a long-term starter. If that was the case, that Kenny Pickett is valued that high amongst other people, and that, again, this is echoing Aaron's point, the only issue of concern, he would have been drafted earlier. He wouldn't have made it to you. You wouldn't have had the first pick at quarterback.
I hate that he's already 24 years old.
A little bit of concern there.
The floor is high for sure, but that ceiling is so damn low.
That's why I think they took him, is because of all the quarterbacks, and I believe this. I think he has the lowest floor, or the highest floor. He has the highest floor. It's the safest pick at quarterback, 100%. Malik Willis, highest ceiling by far, in my opinion.
For sure.
Yeah. And then Desmond Ridder is a wild card, right? We don't know what we're going to get.
Taking a quarterback in the first round, I need to know that he can win me a Super Bowl.
Yep.
And I think what Pickett could come in and do, even maybe in his rookie year, because I still think the Steelers have a really damn good roster, is make the playoffs. I think Pickett has the floor high enough that I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers make the playoffs. I've committed to their downfall every year, and it just hasn't happened.
Right.
I could see somehow that happening. I could never see him making the AFC Championship game until, maybe 3-4 years down the line, I can change that opinion after seeing him play for a lot. Yeah. But I don't see it. And the fact that he's 24 already shows me that he's kind of who he is. And if I'm taking a swing in the first round, I do want a guy that has a ceiling higher, maybe like a Willis. But, again, I'm not a draft expert, and the reason he went in the third round and Pickett went in the first.
It's a fair point.
Either
we got in
way,
the chat?
it's one of the best. It's one of the best divisions in football, the AFC North, and it's going to be extremely exciting to watch. Josh came in with a comment and asked us what we think about the Cowboys. This
Fuck
is in
'em.
regard to Zeke. He said they really believe they got the next Emmitt Smith.
No, they don't.
Yeah,
I don't think they think that.
I would agree. There's only one Emmitt Smith. There's only one Barry Sanders. There's Zeke is he was a great talent out of Ohio State, and early on in his NFL career he made
First
a huge
3 years.
impact.
Yeah.
But he was amazing, and we haven't really seen much of that as of late. And he got paid, so good for him.
Yeah.
But I think we've seen what we're gonna see from Zeke. In the Cowboys, I as much as I love what they did for Dak and giving him that money, I don't think Dak's the guy either. But what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Aaron?
I take Dak over Tannehill.
Yeah. For sure.
Right? So where are we putting him? I mean, Dak's a top 8, 10-ish. Would throw him in that range, probably.
Yeah.
He's not a Super Bowl champion, though. I don't see that.
Literally, he is not. Yes,
Yeah.
I would agree. I mean,
I think he could. I think he could get there. I mean, like the NFC is.
I don't think he's got it.
so hold on. Let's talk. Let's talk about Zeke first, and we can get into Dak. Aaron, I'm interested in your perspective on where the Cowboys are at with Zeke and why. I mean, do you think that front office has faith in him at the running back position?
No, I don't think they do, but they have a financial investment in him. And you're going to utilize that unless you can somehow get rid of it, which, no one's going to trade for a running back's contract. The funny thing is what we've learned in the last couple of years, especially in seeing how the running back market has reset, you don't draft running backs in the first round. We saw that this year. There wasn't one taken. Now, the funny thing and the ironic thing there is the Cowboys actually, the production they got out of Zeke, out of his rookie contract, actually was kind of justified taking him where he did. He kind of was, outperformed what you typically see from a rookie running back. The problem is they paid him. I don't think there was anything wrong with taking him where they did and getting what they did. Zeke was an absolute stud his first 3 years. And sure, they had a great offensive line, but he really was a freak athlete, and we saw it at Ohio State. But just running backs just have such a short shelf life. You really, it's hard to commit that much to the position.
I agree, and quite honestly, I think Pollard makes better sense for that offensive scheme when he is in the play, when he is on the field. That offense moves so much more productively. I would venture to say that he's almost a better running back than Zeke at this point. I don't know if maybe it's just the mindset or rather the scheme that Zeke is currently in, but Tony Pollard has performed better. He's just played better football than Zeke over the last couple of seasons, and he still doesn't get the starting nod, but I think he's okay with that. I think he understands what he has coming, which is a 5-year deal coming up probably here in the next season or two. That it's not gonna be a Zeke deal, anything like that. It's gonna be like I'd say less than like Mixon or Chubb got. It's gonna be a lower tier running back deal, but he's gonna have a contract. He's gonna play on the Dallas Cowboys, right? And what kid that grew up watching football at all or playing football is gonna say no to that? It's just not gonna happen. He's gonna gladly take that helm and be their leading rusher moving forward. And yeah, in terms of Zeke, I think you look at what the Cowboys do with him moving forward, similar to what they did with Amari Cooper, or even worse, they just are going to end up releasing him and just getting the money off the books. I think, or restructuring the deal in some way to make it easier to do that down the line. I think that's really
is probably more likely.
Yeah, I listen. All he did at Ohio State was great, and the first 3 years were great as well. But I don't know. I don't like him as a person, so it's really hard for me to root for him to be successful as well. I just think he's kind of just a shitty human, and it's just I've reveled in the fact that he has taken a downturn over the last couple of years, and I'm not rooting for injury or anything like that. I wouldn't do anything like that, but yeah,
Let me ask you this. if he's available in the third round in your fantasy draft, are you taking him?
Third round, probably. Yeah. He went in the second in our dynasty draft last year.
Fantasy is about opportunity. Real football is about there's the business side of it and there's the production side of it. Zeke's going to be there on the goal line. So I pulled it up out of curiosity. So this year coming up, Zeke
spot track.
Yeah. Zeke's dead cap is 30 million. So you're not cutting for that.
Jesus
Christ.
Well, right. But I mean, that's this year. So
right.
you're probably going to be okay with that. For 23, it's 11. And then for 24, it's 6. You can do it for 11.
You can do it for 11.
You can do
They can cut him after this year. Yeah.
The interesting thing to me will be for the Cowboys is what does that offense look like this year? Because obviously trading Cooper, so CeeDee Lamb now is no longer the number 2 overproducing out of that position. He's going to have to line up and actually be a number 1. What's that going to look like? And of course, Gallup had the injury that he's going to be coming back from. So I don't really, I'd actually love Gallup. You're talking fantasy. Like that's a guy I just love having, on my team. He's a solid receiver, but coming back from injury, I don't really know what that looks like. So maybe they do lean a little bit heavier on the running game, and Zeke has a bounce back year. It's possible, but it's just typically when you see the ticker trend down on the running back, it barely pops back up.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up because that kind of takes us into where we were originally going at the start of this conversation. Is it brings it back to Dak, and in my opinion, Dak Prescott needs to throw the ball 45 times to get what you can get out of him. He's the kind of guy that you need that offense to be like 65-70% passing in order to get Dak in that rhythm and get him to be moving the ball down the field like you want him. And then the running game is an accent, right? It's the rosemary on top of the chicken. It's not the entree. It's the accent to that. Don't forget Dalton Schultz. I believe they franchise tagged Dalton Schultz this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
They're tight end. So God, the fact that we pull this fucking knowledge out of our heads just like that, we have a sickness when it comes to football. We do. An addiction, if you will. I'm sick, Stan. Daddy's sick. but I really think that the Cowboys offense continues to be a dynamic passing game, and they they lean on the running game going forward. Is Dak a guy that can win you a Super Bowl? I mean, listen, the Cowboys haven't gotten out of the first round in a long time. I just, whether it's Dak or Tony Romo, it's just they haven't proven that they've been able to do that. I mean, if they were getting to NFC Championship games, I think it's a different story.
Hot take from Josh said Dak is a shitty Aaron Brooks.
That's just insane.
That's just
also
stupid.
Aaron Brooks, great pull, but no.
Yeah,
Josh, we love you, but that's
Dak's a good quarterback.
Yeah,
man. Dak is a good. He is a good quarterback.
Here's the thing: if you were to tell me, 10 years from now, or like we can somehow look back, have the same conversation, can Dak Prescott trip into a Super Bowl? Yeah, I can name you quarterbacks that have won a Super Bowl that are
right.
I consider worst quarterbacks. Trent Dilfer, Joe Flacco.
Yeah,
the corpse of Peyton Manning.
Yeah, just Ravens, just
like
all
that
Ravens.
Peyton Manning one. I know he's still Peyton Manning and had that brain, but oh my god, it looked like he was going to die.
It's Von Miller's.
The one
exactly. But you can build up a roster around a guy like Dak Prescott and win a Super Bowl. Is he going to go out there and take it from the jaws of, no, absolutely not. But yeah, I could see Dak Prescott winning a Super Bowl somehow.
Let's be honest.
Certainly making one.
He lost that playoff game, though. I put that on Dak. I know the offensive coordinator fell on the sword for them. That was a design play to run the ball with the clock ticking and all that. But I put that on Dak, and yeah, it's a learning experience. But Dak's like 5 years into the league at this point. Learning experiences are over.
He's not a rookie anymore. He should have the knowledge to be able to be like, you know what, this isn't going to work. Let's change it up and call something.
Josh, you might be right. Dak might never win.
Exactly.
That's not what
I was
saying.
just going to say he could. He probably won't.
Josh, I agree with you.
I had to bet. I would say
Aaron
no.
Brooks was.
But to say
not
everything
a great
is
quarterback.
Yeah, but to say everything is 100%, 0%, it's not a binary code. 75% chance Dak never wins a Super Bowl, probably 25. I could see it. I could see it happening. It's not a definite.
As long as Dak Prescott is a Cowboy, he will never win a Super Bowl. Never.
Why? What does that have to do with it?
Because the Cowboys just suck. And they'll never win.
All right. Well,
It's like
I appreciate you bringing rational thought into this debate.
yeah, Jerry Jones is the Achilles heel for the Dallas Cowboys. He is the fucking Al, what's his face for the Raiders?
Al Davis.
Al Davis. He's the Al Davis for the Raiders. Like,
Yeah.
he's his hubris, his ego is too big to allow people to actually run his franchise and make the right moves.
I mean, they both won Super Bowls.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
Like,
40 years ago.
Well,
it
yeah,
wasn't
Al
that-
Davis is dead, bro.
yeah.
Exactly. 40
He's
years
not
ago.
exactly eligible to be winning Super Bowls.
No, I get what you're saying though. I think Jerry Jones is kind of at a place though where it's like, okay, Grandpa, I think it's time to stop driving now.
Yeah.
But like, Grandpa's
Right.
like, fuck you, I'm driving. Like,
I've been driving my whole life.
dude, listen. All right, one of the most influential people in my life is, my late grandfather, and this dude he was the smartest person I've ever met. He's the reason I'm a Florida Gator fan, PhD. I mean, just, helping me,
You have
through.
a PhD?
He did, yeah. He had a
Oh,
PhD
okay.
in chemistry at the University of Florida. Just one of the biggest role models in my life, right, is my grandfather, my late grandfather. This motherfucker, from the age of 75 plus, could not operate a vehicle properly. That said, Grandpa was driving till the day he died. He was driving cars always, and that made road trips a nightmare. Jerry Jones is my grandfather on a road trip right now with the Cowboys. I really do believe that. Did you see the press conference after the draft? They're like, he's sitting there, he's going, well, here's oh shit, my camera. He goes, yeah, here's where we had them valued, and he's just holding up their fucking big board in front of the entire press conference.
Draft's over, man.
I guess, but you're just giving away secrets at that point. You know what I mean?
know.
So it was just
Yeah.
like, Grandpa, no, put your dick away. You know what I mean? So it's just
Yeah.
one of those situations. It was really funny.
No, I
get
that point. It's kind of hard to take a toy away from a billionaire.
Yes, especially when he owns the fucking toy, right?
Yeah.
Yes, all good.
Oh shit! Sorry, I thought you were gonna continue talking.
No, that was it. Sometimes they're short.
That's what she said. Oh shit! All right,
I'm super hard on the South Park. Well, did I make another South Park reference?
Probably.
I mean, it's with the
drowning?
we have a disease. Daddy has a disease. Yeah, it's ingrained in who I am.
So, Aaron, what are you looking forward to the most as we move into the obviously post draft and into the preseason?
Well, we're about to get a little bit more content here shortly with the schedule release, and we'll get to play the much valued schedule game where you go, oh, that's a win. That's a
I love it.
I could see us losing that one on the
We'll
road.
get to do
West
Corey's
Coast.
little projection of
Corey
where
will have
all
the
the teams
Bengals
going to
winning
land.
14 or something. Yeah. So that's always really fun just to kind of see, hey, how are the primetime matchups going to line up?
Yeah.
Especially with the new broadcast crews basically, all across for this year, which will be interesting just to kind of see, how that shakes out. After that, it kind of just, it's probably the only part of the season where the NFL becomes a little bit of a lull. You kind of have just like the random free agency signings as we wait for training camp to start as we get to July. So, get your golf swings in June, I think is the way to go. No, it's the schedule. The schedule release is the most exciting part coming up.
I'll be working on it.
No, I 100% agree. We got some schedule release that came out earlier
London's, right?
Yeah, the London and the Munich game were released, and the biggest one. So, the biggest one that I was concerned about, the Saints were confirmed to have a home game in London. The Bengals play the Saints on the road this year. The Bengals have frequented London. They've been a team that has played in London often. So I was concerned that the Bengals were going to go play the Saints in London, being that Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Tyler Shelvin, all these LSU guys to go into the Superdome and play in New Orleans. It's a homecoming of sorts, right? Going back to Louisiana. There's going to be a ton of LSU fans there that aren't Saints fans, probably. There's going to be a ton of Bengals fans making the trip, myself included now. I will be in New Orleans. The only hiccup was going to be when it was. I have a commitment on October 7th. If you see, I've changed my name here in the broadcast. I have a commitment on October 7th. I will be I am Reverend Corey. I will be officiating Aaron's wedding on
Thank
October
you very much,
7th.
Corey.
Yes. No, thank you, good sir.
Bring the mic stand.
Yes. Yeah. I'll be
Put the headphones on and just we'll all sit down and treat it like a podcast.
like a podcast. Yeah, dearly beloved.
And I just want to remind everyone that this wedding is brought to you by
Aaron's wedding.
Squarespace.
Yeah, this wedding is brought to you by Squarespace. But no, so and then
It'll be
that
October 7th then for sure.
No. So I looked it up. The Saints are playing in London on October 2nd.
Oh,
So
okay.
normally when you play in London the following
bye.
week, you get a bye. So I am confirmed it is not Aaron's wedding. I will be in the Big Easy with my dad and my cousin. And I keep telling Katie, I'm like, Katie, come, my wife, I'm like, come to New Orleans with us for the Bengals game. Like, if nothing else, just come to New Orleans. You don't have to go to the game, but like, come with us to New Orleans. She's like, I feel like it's just going to end up being you going to New Orleans. I'm like, it doesn't have to be. Like, I'm telling you right now. Yeah, but I just feel like it's going to end up being a guy's trip. So we'll see how that shakes out.
Not to scare New Orleans, but Hurricane Corey will be approaching. So I get why Katie would want to be out of the storm there.
That's completely fair. We love you to death.
Yeah,
We
I
love
get
you
it.
to death.
I am an animal, particularly on Sundays. I am a fucking animal. Aaron has lived with it for many years, as I am.
Yeah,
and
we enjoy Sundays.
Yeah, and
We're church going folk.
Yep, Church of Football, baby. Let's go.
Oh my goodness! That's going to be an absolutely amazing time.
I'll look up those London games for you. Though.
I can't personally say I've been to New Orleans, but I can imagine that it would be a day filled full of shenanigans, to say the least.
See, the last time I went to New Orleans, I was like 15, so I kind of went to New Orleans. You know what I mean? I went to New Orleans, but I didn't really go to New Orleans. I didn't do New Orleans.
You don't go to New
things.
Orleans when you're 15.
Okay, my grandparents took me. I just talked to you about one of the biggest influences of my life. Right, he took me to fucking New Orleans. All right,
I
am I going to say no?
I understand and I appreciate that. I'm just saying you went, but you didn't go.
So here's the international.
Like you're listening, but you're not hearing me.
Exactly, 100%. I do that often. So let's go over the international. Let's go to the international games of 2020. So on October 2nd on NFL Network in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, you got the Minnesota Vikings Skull taking on the Nolans Aints. Then you have on October 9th. The New York Football Giants taking on the Green Bay Packers. On October 30th, the Denver Donkeys taking on Aaron's second favorite NFL team, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Followed by Munich. They're playing a game in Munich for the first time in Allianz Arena, home of Bayern Munich, on November 13th. Oh,
it's Germany
loves football.
Yes. You're going to have the Seattle Seahawks taking on Tampa Bay. Then on November 21st in Estadio Azteca, you have the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Arizona Cardinals. So being as that will probably be post-Thanksgiving, I will be taking the 49ers in that one. Now, here's an interesting question. Reports are coming out that the 49ers don't feel good about Trey Lance.
Really?
They don't feel good about Trey Lance, and if they did feel good about Trey Lance, Jimmy G would have been dealt by now. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I think there just aren't enough landing spots for Jimmy G right now. I
Mhm.
think everyone was waiting post-draft, and the amount of draft capital the 49ers gave up for Trey Lance,
Right.
I don't think there would be anything that would be leaked to this point from the team about not being sure about him. I think it's the same thing with Baker right now. I don't think there's anything wrong with the player. I think it's the money that they're owed. So I wouldn't read too much into it at this point.
In terms of Jimmy G, you're saying the money that Jimmy G is owed. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. It's the same with Baker. Like,
Right.
I think teams there are like, Bobby, we were talking about before. I think the Steelers had reports out like if he got cut, they would take him. It's not that a team wouldn't take Baker. It's the fact that they're not willing to trade anything to get that contract.
Right. Yeah. And you make a great point. It's like, I don't think it's their negative outlook on Trey Lance. I think they still want to provide Jimmy G some value because Jimmy G does have value in the NFL.
I agree.
At this point, I think he's still, he's
better
not,
than Jared Goff.
He is, out of 32 teams, I think he's a starting quarterback on at least one of them.
Yeah.
And I don't think the 49ers are ready to give that up yet unless it's for the right price. And as Aaron said, they haven't seen the right price. So why say, hey, Jimmy G is not our guy, Trey Lance is our guy, when Jimmy G is still a qualified candidate and Trey Lance can hold a clipboard for another year and learn. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much my consensus on it.
I think the only concern there would be though is if Trey Lance can't actually just beat Jimmy G out if he happens to stick around.
Absolutely.
There you go, Corey. Happy Cinco de Mayo.
That was for you, Josh. Josh is saying, he's like, let's see what you got. I think he wants me to drink with. I don't think you want that. I don't think the valuables in your home want that.
I believe that
So I got to tell you this story. So Aaron and I have probably drank more with Aaron than most humans have drank. And there's this. So Aaron and I did it. We were super.
I'm interested where this is going.
Super duper seniors.
Aaron's like, oh shit, where's this going?
I actually think I already know where this is going.
He knows exactly where this is going. So we were super duper seniors. Exactly. And I was in a fraternity in college. At this point, I had stepped away from the fraternity and just kind of
you ran out of eligibility.
Exactly. Yeah. I had won the Heisman National Championship. He'd like, okay, sir, you can't keep playing college football.
He'd won the Curtis Ford Award.
Is that a Blue Mountain State reference?
No. It's a Fairfield joke.
Oh, okay. Anyway,
Gosh,
I went to school there. Whoops. Anyway, so we go to this house party of the fraternity that I was in, and Aaron and I, bring our respectable six packs because we are respectable human beings at this point. We're not paying $5. We're not paying $5 to get into a house party at this point. Fools. To drink natural light. Anyway, head upstairs to the beer pong table. We get on there, and it's just,
business as usual.
Business as usual. Next.
11 in a row, 12 in a row. Something.
Sink, front cup, bring balls back. Next cup, it's just over, right? Par for the course. We've run the table now for probably about 45 minutes. At one point, these guys across the table just look at each other. It's like, dude, these alumni are kicking our ass right now. And Aaron and Aaron and I, still enrolled in school, look at each other and just like,
this motherfucker.
Dude, we have to fucking graduate now. We need to go home.
I think our time is up there.
Fucking Van Wilder, that shit.
Dude,
it wasn't that bad. It was like 5 years, whatever. Yeah, it was
5 and
like,
five
we
and
need
a half.
to go. Yeah, 5.5. It's like we
5.5. First few years were a blast. I'll tell you that. I mean, they were all fun. Fuck it, whatever.
Hey, I was a 5.5 or 2, baby.
Fuck yeah! Look where I'm at now. Look at me.
So that story just inspired me. Like,
Like Chicago.
man,
It's a
Chicago's a
song.
great city.
No, it's a song by Chicago. Inspiration. I'll sing it for you later when you're falling asleep. It's
I
good.
appreciate it. So I think we need to stream a Rally Towel beer pong event.
Oh, that would be fun.
Corey and Aaron, the BG boys versus the Columbus crew.
Oh, but you're Miami boys, right?
Or Miami boys.
Yeah, they're both Miami boys.
It's over then.
Yeah, I mean, you
They
guys
have
already know you're gonna lose. So.
They have Brooks Brothers beer pongs, like the ping pong balls are from Brooks Brothers.
We will have 2 polos on and both collars popped.
Yeah, Banana Republic cups.
We'll be drinking in flannels.
Yep, flannels and jeans, baby. Oh shit! All right, what else do we got?
Content, though.
It would be good.
Well, shit. Yeah, Josh. Well, I mean, anytime you want to throw the invite out, let us know. We'll be there. We'll come throw down.
Do you guys want to talk shit about Hugh Jackson for like 5 minutes?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I'm always in on that.
Aaron,
yeah.
Take it away.
Dude's a fucking asshole.
Well, give some backstory. We know that.
So obviously,
guy's a fucking dick.
Yeah, fuck that guy. No, so obviously, I think everyone's fairly familiar with the Brian Flores accusations that came out at the end of the year. Obviously, he was let go, which I think everyone would say was pretty prematurely. Obviously they didn't do great last year, but he had really brought that team up from where Adam Gase had left it, and he accused the NFL of, racism, and we had seen the text message leaks where Bill Belichick accidentally texted, Brian Flores instead of Brian Daboll, saying, "Hey, congrats, I heard you already got it," kind of thing, which kind of goes along with the longstanding, I don't know what you want to call it in the NFL, but the brotherhood or whatever.
Boys Club. The old Boys Club.
Yeah. Exactly. Hugh Jackson, just a notorious grifter, basically just takes his chance to jump in on this and go, "Hey, yeah, the Browns did that too. They made us lose games. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. I didn't want to lose games. They said I had to lose games. They made me do it.
They paid me to lose games."
So the NFL, with its infinite resources, goes through a investigation of the Browns, and by all accounts, and the statement the NFL released was, the Browns were an open book. They interviewed Jimmy Haslam, the GM at the time, coaches, staffers, whatever. It was go through any email you want. And then in the bottom little part of the press release, it's, although Hugh Jackson initially agreed to be interviewed, denied to be interviewed for the claims, we could not find any file of wrongdoing. So basically just kicking up all this mud to clear his name, which is, if you know anything about Hugh Jackson, just like exactly who he is as a person, an opportunist. And boy, I fucking hate that guy.
I mean, dude,
let me live. Move on, man. That's like 6 years ago. I'm sick of hearing your fucking name.
Dude, people, it's like it's like when in Superbad when he's like, "Hey, why don't you just go piss your pants?" It was like 6 years ago, asshole. People don't forget. Like, that's exactly what Hugh Jackson's doing. And I mean, his greatest success was 2015 being the offensive coordinator of the Bengals. His greatest. Andy Dalton was an MVP candidate because Hugh Jackson was the offensive coordinator. Yeah. He went 8-8 with the Raiders. That's his biggest claim to fame. That's it. And honestly, the Hard Knocks with the Browns was one of the more cringy, not because it was the Browns, but because of Hugh Jackson. It was one of the most cringeworthy things that I have ever seen. Like the conversations that being like Greg Williams or being one of those guys in there, you just wanted to fucking rip your hair out listening to Hugh Jackson, because those guys have been around the game. They know what the fuck they're doing. Hugh has almost like fraudulently gotten his way to where he's at. He's faked it till he made it, right? And then he was just exposed on a national platform being a head coach for 2 years. He was awful for 2 years, right? It was It's embarrassing at this point. I think
The
I'm
part
embarrassed
that
for
pisses me
him.
off the most, though, like it really does piss me off, is it was like 2 months ago when a lot of this stuff was coming out, and Hugh Jackson gets the car wash at ESPN to say whatever he wants, and then it's like, oh yeah, the Browns are fucking racist, and I'm sitting here like, I mean, we hired him at the same time that we had a black GM. We now have the youngest GM who is also. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Race has nothing to do with the fact that you're just a terrible coach.
Yeah,
And and it's just you're allowed to just say all this shit, and it's just the part that pisses me off is he's like, I'm not going to talk about it to the investigation. I'm just going to kick this
shut the
all up.
fuck
And,
up, dude.
yeah, it's just a complete opportunist, and it happens all the time. And I'll hear about him again probably a year and a half when something else gets kicked up. He's the awful ex-girlfriend.
It's a great analogy. That's perfect.
Fair
That's
enough.
My car gets keyed every other year.
Why don't you love me anymore?
Because you're insane.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll chat. Obviously, you see the banner scrolling at the bottom. Open air. Let us know what you got to talk about. We got probably about another 10 minutes left in the podcast. We'll leave the floor to you guys to kind of close this up. Corey, what are you most looking forward to this summer?
This summer for football,
just in general.
So I mean,
personal.
Let's see. I got a few. I'm going to the Indy 500 Memorial Day. We do that. Try and do that every year with Katie's parents. Her grandfather has had long-standing tickets to the Indy 500. I've never been a race guy. I've never been into motorsports really that much at all. I've enjoyed driving go-karts and dirt bikes and stuff like that, but I've never been actually into the sport itself. And it wasn't until I went to my first Indy 500, which was the 100th running of the Indy 500, that I got that bug. I got that interest because it's completely different when you're there. It really, really is. When you're live for cars moving that fucking fast and you're seeing it, it's insane. And it's a party. Let's be real. I mean, like, you get the race is always on Sunday, the Sunday before Memorial Day. Typically what they've done in the past is like Friday is a concert, Saturday is a concert, Sunday is the race. That's typically how it works. Since COVID, things have kind of changed a little bit. But just being in that kind of environment and everybody's there, it's the first taste of summer and everybody's having a good time, and just seeing the cars and how fast they work on them and everything like that. It just really was a really cool environment. So I got that going on. Couple of family trips, obviously golf league going down. But another thing that I'm really just excited about is getting this NFL schedule out next Thursday. A week from today, we get the NFL schedule. Getting training camp in. I love now that I'm not as in a worry position, like we need this guy to be good position as a Bengals fan. Now I get to really start hyper focusing on the developmental talent of the team. Like I get to start looking at guys like Joseph Asai. Like I really want to see Joseph Asai, our 3rd round pick out of Texas last year, tore his Achilles, and I think it was Achilles, in the 3rd preseason game. I really get to see some of this developmental talent start to produce, and you get to hear everything that you can at a training camp, and as we start to get into the preseason and stuff like that. I also think we are in one of the first NBA finals that we have no fucking clue who's going to really be in the finals. It's one of the first ones.
It was kind of like that.
Yeah.
Because it was like the first year post Warriors domination.
Yeah. And Aaron, we talked about this last night, and you had the night off, but I'll pose it to you. I asked Todd, in your opinion, are we witnessing the shift of power from west to east?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I would say,
thank you.
I think the West I think the Suns are going to win this year, right? So
Okay.
it's definitely more top heavy. I think the East has a lot of really good young teams. Like obviously Giannis is still in his prime, if not just kind of coming into it. I don't think Durant's away yet, although he's out for the year. And there's still, I haven't even mentioned the Celtics or
Jason
but
Tatum.
right, but it's not like there's any slouches in the West either. And I think when I'm assuming I'm going to get a fully healthy Kawhi next year. That's another team that's going to be in the mix as an actual finals challenger. I don't know. And, who knows what the Nuggets do? I think Jokic is probably, he's a top 3 player in the league. There's a lot of top heavy talent, Doncic in the West. Who knows what happens with Zion next year? It's a very interesting time. I would agree with you that there is a shift going on. I wouldn't say that it's west to east, but I would say that it's generational, where the LeBron, Durant part of it is kind of going away. Even like Steph Curry at this point is starting to get up there in age, and you see guys like Ja Morant, Doncic. Who knows what happens with Zion? But there's a young Trae Young. We can keep going, but it seems to be more of a generational shift that's coming out of the NBA.
I will tell you that the Celtics are going to be absolutely terrifying over the next couple of years with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Those guys are unreal.
I actually, if I was on last night, I think my bold prediction would have been the Celtics are going to be in the finals. But what I do believe is whoever wins that series out of the Bucks Celtics will be in the finals.
That's what we said last night. Whoever wins that series is and with Middleton out, I think that's a huge disadvantage for the Bucks. The only thing that they have going for them, not the only thing, I mean, it's a massive thing. They have the best player in the NBA is on their team. So there is that.
No, I listened to last night's broadcast when I was at the gym this morning, and one of the things that you guys had continued to talk about, I know Todd had mentioned it quite a few times, was the big 3 type deal with scorers, and that the Bucks don't really have that, but they've got Giannis and Chris Middleton, and Chris Middleton cannot be slept on in this dynasty that the Bucks. Well, I wouldn't call it a dynasty, but in the time that they've been successful, because I wouldn't argue that he's more important than Giannis, but I would argue that he is a very, very important piece to that team.
Oh, hugely.
I don't think that they have the success that they have without him. And
long time. He's out now. And he should be back if they can get onto the series. We may even see him at the end of it. Who knows? But he fills that role, right? Giannis is a player who's good enough to be your 1 and like half of your number 2. Chris Middleton, I don't think is the perfect number 2, but he certainly plays his role really, really well. And he can go off for 20 consistently, and you can get a game where he's just hitting 9 threes.
Yeah. I just anytime you like you see it with the guys like Luka and like Giannis, these guys that are it used to be the guys that were in that 1 or 2 slot were really the dynamic play. We went through a phase of that. I feel like guys like Dwayne Wade, right? That's who comes to mind when I think of when I'm referring to this. But now you're seeing the transition to where the big men are the influential aspects. I mean, look at the MVP candidates for this year. You know what I mean?
Nikola Jokic won, and he's one of the most dynamic big men in the NBA, if not the most. I mean, he won the fucking MVP. He's a big man who can play in the post, he can play in the perimeter. He's a solid defender, and he's an excellent scorer.
Yeah, and his team was no offense, but just dog shit this year.
They suck.
They're garbage.
For him to drag them into the playoffs, and if you've ever even just on TV, like if you watch him play, it's just
it's next level.
He's a point center.
Yes,
it's
the
insane.
offense runs through him. It runs through him right when they bring the ball up the court, work it inside every single time, and he'll even float up to the top of the key, set screens, and take the ball.
He can shoot, he can dribble, and he's an amazing passer for a big.
There's not a lot of
big man, just an amazing pass. Yeah, right.
I mean, he's his look at his fucking vantage point, right? He literally is over top of everyone, just like, yep, you get the
Right.
ball. You get
Right.
the
And to
ball.
your
Like,
point, it's like there's not a lot of centers that can go and run that pick and roll at the top of the key and
yeah,
then roll out to the wing
and
and pop a
spray.
three.
Right.
And like
Yeah.
it's just that is such an unbelievable talent from somebody of that stature. And
And he
I'm
does it
glad
with
that it's
ease.
recognized. Yeah, and it's so easy.
Yeah.
That makes me so mad.
Bobby, do you have like an NBA team that's like your team? Because I know
No.
no.
I don't. I genuinely enjoy watching the sport. That was the only sport that I actually played in high school. I love basketball. It's probably the sport where I have the most knowledge and IQ with. If I was to, say that I have IQ in any sport,
Badminton for me.
Racquetball, baby.
yeah,
You should get
it's
hit the
definitely.
trees like
But the only other
fucking
one for me
Sonny
is
Bono
curling.
and go play racquetball.
But yeah, no, I mean, I love it. It's a wonderful sport, and I think Nikola Jokic is a perfect MVP. He's amazing. I mean, what else can you say about this guy?
Yeah. No, you've put a. I mean, yeah, exactly. Here's one thing that I do want to leave us with, or maybe not leave us with, but maybe final discussion of the night. Cincinnati Reds lost again today. They are they lost 5-10. They are
Sick.
3-22.
Oh my God.
They are 3-22, Aaron. They are on pace right now to go 19-143.
I'd have to venture to say that would be the worst record of all time.
It would break the Mets record of 20-142.
Wait,
that is
20,
the record. That's the record. The Tigers, the 2003 Tigers went 20. They had 23 wins. That was the second worst.
No.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. The Reds are on pace right now to have the worst record ever in the history of baseball since there have been 162 games. Now the 19.
You know what? At this point, I'm just on board with it because you know what? Fuck you, Castellinis.
Yeah, but what the fuck are they gonna like? What could happen? It's not like they're the owners. They're not the coach. They're the owners. They own the team.
What is it gonna? I think we've talked about this a couple times, but and we've talked football, we've talked basketball, and we're just out of the NFL draft. The worst thing for like if you're a baseball fan, if it's one thing to have the worst record, but you don't get that instant gratification of like the first overall pick,
right?
Because your team was bad. That dude's going to spend 4 to 5 years in the minors just grinding it out. So you don't like being the worst team doesn't have.
There's no Joe Burrow,
right? Exactly. Or in the NBA, you don't get a LeBron or it doesn't happen like that where they come in and they play right away. I think like the closest example of that in baseball we've seen is like Griffey, and even then he still spent a little bit of time in the minors.
Well, and like baseball's a sport where you need like
reps.
You need reps, but you need like at least 7 to 10 solid guys on your team.
Yeah.
Throughout, like not just like not batting, not defense, not pitching,
one guy's
not
not going to
bullpen.
change it all.
You need all of it. You need all of it, and it's just one of those things where, especially as a small market team, where if you're just getting your fucking teeth kicked in, there is no hope. There's nothing on the horizon that's like, well, at least we've got this coming for it. Like, let's start looking at the draft. Like,
you don't tank in baseball.
There's no fucking point. I say
that more as a pissed off fan.
For sure.
Obviously, they basically said, "Hey, what the fuck are you gonna do? We're here."
They did. They literally said, "Where are you going to go?"
You can't do shit about it. Basically,
yeah.
You know what? Like, fuck you. Like, if you want to be the worst team and set the worst records on the planet, be my fucking guest. You're not going to get a dime of my money.
Yeah, and I will not be going to a game at Great American Ballpark this year. Won't happen.
And it's a shame. I love the Reds. I love that baseball team. I think it's one of the most important things that was involved in my childhood. But I'm not going to be disrespected either as a fan, and that's what's happening right now. And
It is.
it's blatant and it's atrocious. And
I think at this
if
point
that's
they're
what you want,
they're literally pulling their dick out. That's what they're doing right now. The Castellinis are like the amount of guys that are going on IR right now or IL right now is insane. It's
if you're a
insane.
player for the Reds, why would you want to play?
Why would you? What do you have to play for?
There's nothing
You
to
want to
play
get
for.
you want to
Your
get
owner
traded. I
basically said, "Fuck you."
honestly I hope they trade Joey Votto because I love Joey Votto. He is one of the greatest hitters of our generation, and he deserves to win a World Series.
He sure
I
does.
hope they trade him. I hope they put him on the Angels or something like that.
Or the Dodgers.
There's Dodgers. Yeah, something. Just move him. Get him to a championship contender.
Let him be a fucking left-handed DH for the Dodgers, and that dude will fucking change.
He'll get on base at least. He'll walk. Yeah. He'll do something. It's and
it's pathetic.
They say,
that's what you were gonna say. It's pathetic.
It's pathetic, but here's the thing: the Castellinis are like, well, where are you gonna go? I'll tell you where they're gonna go. They're going to go to the Bengals, buddy. Cincinnati has been a baseball town for a long time.
We're going to go in our right and left hand pockets and pull these out.
Well, right. But that's where the fans' money is going to go. It's going to go to the other professional sports team that's winning and trying. That's where their money is going to go.
You're 100% right. And again, I know it's not all about Cleveland, Bobby, but just to parallel.
No, please, yeah.
I was just teasing. When the Browns moved,
no, we're here for it.
The Indians set a record for most consecutive sellouts at a time, and there was this perfect crossroads of the Browns leaving while also having this roster of Kenny Lofton, Jim Thome, Manny Ramirez, Bartolo Colon, like just insane
best team to never win a World Series. Yeah,
Omar Vizquel. And
Omar Vizquel, what a great reference.
So we had this void to be filled. And then we've also seen it kind of change in Cleveland where it's like, okay, obviously the Browns haven't been great since they've been back in 99. The Indians have had little moments, Guardians now, and even, they're playing okay this year. But what do we have in between then? LeBron James. Okay, we're all going to now flock to the Cavaliers. So I hear 100% what you're saying, but the second that they start winning again, that's when the fans flock back.
It's true.
And you vote with your dollar. So if you're upset with the ownership, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying I'm not going to games. It's just not fun. Like, I don't want to watch a team suck ass and buy a $10 hot dog. There's no point in doing that. And it's a slap in the face. And the other thing too, is when you have ownership that just isn't willing to spend money, sell a fucking team. Like, you know how many, you aren't that, comparatively to when you bought that team. I don't really know much about the family that owns the Reds, but I know there's people that would buy it and that make a shitload more money than you do. But it's like we've said before, it's like that boys club where once you own it, it's yours until you don't want it anymore. No one can force you to sell it. But the problem is there's no guardrails to be like, I don't really have to give a shit.
Yeah.
I own this asset.
Yeah, at this point, I'm like just begging Jeff Bezos to back a truckload up to the Castellini's house. I'll do a deal with the devil. I don't give a fuck. I will. I will. Sure, buy him, Satan. Let's do it. It's a sad time for baseball fans in Cincinnati.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, on that note, chat, we love you guys. We hope you have a wonderful weekend. We will see you guys back here on Tuesday for Town Hall, and appreciate all the engagement tonight. We had double-digit reactions, 44 comments, 5 shares. You guys are amazing. Appreciate all the love and support for Aaron, Corey, myself. Have a wonderful night, wonderful weekend. Catch you next week.
See you guys.